poet, storyteller, writer. What else do you do?
A whole bunch of stuff.
Whole bunch of stuff. But if you watch TV, you've seen his face. Because he's been on Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Justice, APB, Empire, American Greed, most recently. Yeah. So we are celebrating all of this talent we have on the stage, but we are opening with my friend, James Gordon. Give him a hand.
Bobo, that was my dad calling me. He was in another room and his voice was always boomed even when he was just speaking at a normal tone. I grew up in a household where your parents weren't supposed to call you twice. First time you came, as soon as your name was heard, you were there. But what my dad didn't know, I was playing Atari, Defender to be exact, and I was about to cross 1,000,000 points. So I was like, okay. And I kept playing, and I crossed 1,000,000, so I figured I'd keep on going until I heard, Bobo! Oh shit. Because I couldn't say shit yet. I was like, oh shit. And I dropped the controller, knew I messed up the game because it wasn't like pause like it is now. Randy, yes sir? I said, you didn't hear me call you? I never lied to my parents. But I said, no, I didn't hear you the first time, Dad. But what? No, nothing. Bobo, we're transferring you from schools. And I was like, yes! I was currently going to St. Bride's on the south side. And I thought he was going to transfer me to Holy Angels, where my cousin Eric went. I was like, yeah. He said, oh, I'm glad to see you so excited. You're going to Bradwell. Everything just dropped. Heart stopped. Bradwell at the time was this giant high school, warehouse-looking school, one of the worst grammar schools on the south side of Chicago. I was like, okay, there's got to be a joke here somewhere. It's like, nah. We want to try to move you there because with me working my different hours and your mom working somewhere close, you get back and forth home. You have to understand the difference between Bradwell and Holy Angels. Holy Angels is 15, 14 to 1 in the class. Bradwell, 25, 30, 35 to 1 to the teacher ratio. The kids were bigger. It was like Jurassic Park and I was a beagle. I don't know what they were eating and drinking differently than me, but there was something. So to make myself more comfortable, my mom did something she only did on field trips before. She started making my lunch every day. So she would get a brown paper bag and she put 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches cut down the middle, an apple, a pear, or some sort of fruit, a chocolate chip cookie, and she gave me 25 cents for chocolate milk. Now I was a 6th grader and I didn't know what love was, but I had watched The Love Boat plenty of times. And I saw it was a good feeling. And if that was the case, I loved chocolate milk. It was the bestest thing ever. At 12:05 p.m. every day, myself and the rest of the 6th graders would come down to the lunchroom and do what 6th graders do in lunchtime. We'd eat our lunches, complain about all the homework we have, talk about what we're going to do in gym and on the weekend. Sometimes trade was in our lunches, and it was a good time. Until about 12:25. He would come. He was Eric the bully. And whatever was in your lunch bag was Eric's favorite thing to eat. If he had 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches cut down the middle, it was Eric's favorite sandwich. An apple, a pear, some sort of fruit, Eric's favorite fruit. A chocolate chip cookie, his favorite cookie. But his favorite thing for the last 2 months had been chocolate milk. So he picked on one 6th grader in particular. That was me. But that day, I had a revelation. My mother didn't give me 25 cents for Eric to drink chocolate milk. She gave it to me, so I drank it, and it was delicious. But it put me in danger. 3 o'clock. I look across at Eric sitting 2 rows over, and he gives me the universal sign that he's going to beat me up at 3:15. At 3:10 p.m., I look across at Eric sitting 2 rows over. He again gives me the sign he's going to beat me up at 3:15. But at 3:12 p.m., something strange happens. When I look across at Eric sitting 2 rows over, I give him the sign that I'm going to beat him up at 3:15. And this was strange because Eric had failed the 6th grade twice.
My God.
And he had incurred an incredible growth spurt, which made him 6'2", 187 pounds in the 6th grade. So he could easily beat me up. It was now 3:14 and 50 seconds. I took my Batman book bag and put it over my shoulders, grabbed my Chicago Cubs hat. My grandma was a Cubs fan, don't judge me. Grabbed my hat, I look across at Eric one last time. 3:14:55. 3:14:56. Boom! I was out of my chair, through the door, down 1 flight, 2 flights, 3 flights of stairs, and I got away from the bully. But as I told you, Eric had failed the 6th grade twice. He was bigger, stronger, and faster than the rest of us 6th graders. So as soon as I was out the door on Saginaw, he was right behind me. I made a right at 78th Street. I tried to lose him. He was right behind me. I made a left in the alley. He was still behind me. I jumped over Miss Johnson's fence, and today, of all days, Hadorian Pincher is free. Narrowly escaping the beast, I get over the other side of the fence back to Saginaw, and I take a moment, catch my breath, and say a silent prayer. I said, Lord, please let the dog eat Eric. But as I told you, Eric had failed the 6th grade twice. He was bigger, stronger, and faster than the rest of us 6th graders, so he jumped over the fence, kicked the dog, back over the fence, right behind me on Saginaw, and we're running, and in the distance, Salvation, the greatest woman I've ever known, stood in front of our house smiling and waving. Yes! Telepathically, I sent my mother a message. Hey, Mom, could you stop waving and smiling and do something? Don't you see this monster that wants to beat me up because I didn't give him my chocolate milk? Ma, help! My mother, I've never met a greater woman than her, continued to smile and wave, oblivious to my plight. I was on my own. It had rained the last 3 days, and so on the south side of Chicago, the streets are somewhat decrepit, and sometimes the sidewalks reflect that, and so it was on Saginaw, so it was like a giant moat in front of me. To avoid getting anything on my school clothes, I ran through the grass. Eric saw his opportunity, so he sped up, but he tripped, fall, boom, splash. I kept running. In situations like this, there are jackals disguised as other children. They don't help. They don't call for help. They don't do anything. They don't say anything. They just point and laugh at whoever they think is losing. At this point, it's Eric. But I'm still running. Until I'm close enough to my mother to turn around and see Eric rising from the puddle. Drenched, soaking, angry, seething. We lock gazes, and we realize a couple of things. Eric realizes that he will never again drink my chocolate milk. And I realize for that to be true, there are going to be some days that I have to stand up and fight and get my butt kicked, or do like I did that day and run from the bully. Thank you. 4 months later, 3 pairs of broken glasses, 2 black eyes, left, right, busted lips, top, bottom, a tooth knocked out, wedgies. And I didn't even think black guys gave other black guys wedgies, but I'm the proof that that stuff happened. This is the 8th, 9th, 10th parent-teacher conference. The result being the same. Dr. Johnson, our grandiose principal, saying, "Gentlemen, we can't have this type of behavior at Myra Bradwell School." My parents, frustrated, wanting justice and getting none. His parents, he being Eric the bully, his parents, contrite, or maybe faking, and saying that boys will be boys. And if that's the case, I wonder if it being a girl would have been a little bit different, because this was nonsense. The point in the conversation when Dr. Johnson would tell us, again, shake hands and go back to class. And we did. And he would say, apologize, Eric, and Eric would say, "I'm sorry, James." Because of the growth spurt, you know. And so I said, all right, and I would get ready to turn to walk away, and he would say, "James, where you going?" I said, okay, he apologized. We're good. He said, apologize to Eric. Sporting a black eye at the time. There's tape keeping my glasses together. And I still don't know to this day why the hell he had me apologize, but I did. I apologized to Eric. Smirk, condescending, came across his face. And we entered the hallway, headed back to class. It was near noon, so it was almost time for lunchtime. And Eric, to show how truly sincere he was with his apology, wound up and punched me right in the jaw. and went off cackling like the Joker. I realized at that moment that Jennifer Lopez's movie about domestic violence would not come out for 2 decades, but I had had enough. And so I started to enact my plan that I had thought about 6 weeks ago. I went to lunch, and of course, as I told you before, at 12:05, all the 6th graders would eat and talk, and I didn't participate. I just sat, waited, watched the door. At 12:25, as he had for the last few days, last few weeks, last several months, he came, Eric the bully. But this was different because the conflict had been between me and him. Think Batman and the Joker. Think Bears in Green Bay. Okay, a little closer than that, but I hate the freaking Packers, but that's, sorry, I digress. And as soon as he hit the door, he made a beeline for the table I was at. There was a hush that went over the lunchroom because they had seen this scene play out over and over again. They'd seen me stand up to Eric. They'd seen me get beat up by Eric, drug around and such. No one dared jump in to help, but I was their hope or whatever that meant. And he made a beeline towards me, and as soon as he got close enough, I stood and I said, "Here, take it, and you can have it every day from now on." And I put the chocolate milk in his hand, and I sat down and folded my hands and put my head down. The sigh of exasperation was audible throughout the entire lunchroom. I could feel Eric smiling. And he smacked me upside my head and told me, "You better have punk." And I simply said, "Okay." 12:40 p.m., Mrs. Beasley, our teacher, came down and lined us up. Girls on the left, boys on the right. Took us up to the 2nd floor where the 6th graders had their classroom. And just as we got close to our classroom, I jumped out, "Mrs. Beasley, Mrs. Beasley, I gotta go to the bathroom. My lunch didn't go down well." And she says, "Hurry up, James, you don't have a pass." One of the perks of being well behaved. And so I scampered off because I really had to go to the bathroom. I didn't have to go to the bathroom. The middle stall in the bathroom, no one used. It didn't work because it would overflow. I stepped inside the middle stall on top of the toilet, closed the door, and waited. I looked at my Batman watch. It's a recurring theme. And at 12:44 p.m., as he had for the last month and a half, a pair of purple Dr. J Converse All-Stars with gold strings came walking right into the bathroom, right on time. Eric the bully took the stall next to me, and for the next 2 minutes, the most horrible sounds and terrible smells came from that stall. I have never smelled brimstone, but I've been to Indiana and New Jersey. If you put them two together, that's what he was coming out of his butt. Next to me, I held my breath. And finally, thankfully, he flushed, and I was able to exhale. I heard the faucet go on. I said, "Oh my God, Eric the bully washes his hands?" I stepped off the toilet, and I removed the rubber ducky from my foot. For those of you who don't know, my father was in the Army, and he swear by the Army Navy surplus store. Rubber duckies were these giant boots. They were snowproof, waterproof, cold-proof. They were everything proof, and you could sometimes fit another shoe inside of them, and they were heavy. And I was wearing those that day, so I took one off my right foot, and I stepped out of the stall, and just as Eric was turning around, I swung, and I swung again, and I swung again, until finally, he was down. It was over. And I started to put my boot back on and walk away. And then I remembered all the days I ran home. All the days my mother, my father came up from school. All the days crying. The black eyes, the broken glasses, the busted tooth, the busted lips, the wedgies. And damn it, I didn't know black dudes gave other black dudes wedgies. But I'm the proof that stuff happened. And all of it flashed. People talk about snapping. I snapped, and I turned that boot downward, and I just started swinging. Think Thor and that mighty hammer, and I just kept swinging. And these sounds came from Eric. And I said, "Oh my God, he's no monster. He's no giant. He just failed the 6th grade twice and grew up real fast. He's a boy just like me. He can be hurt." And so I hurt him. Not just for me, but for every 6th grader that he ever bullied, for anybody he ever made afraid. Maroon fluid started to come from Eric's forehead. which made me swing even more. Soon there were adult hands pulling me off. I recognized one. Mrs. Beasley had just gotten engaged and a giant ring shone on her left finger. She said, "James, come on. James, come on." And I leaned forward just enough. I paid attention in social studies, the Holocaust. And there was this phrase they said Jewish people say it all the time, and I got close enough to Eric, close enough, and I could see the fear written on his face, and I said to him, "Never again. Never again." They took me to the principal's office. It's the funny thing about when you're angry, you cry. It's the funniest thing. You're angry. You're not sad or anything. You're angry and you're crying, and that was me. My mother came up and she said, "Oh, you okay, Bobo?" The name that I've not been able to shake decades later. "Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay." Mrs. Anderson, the meanest vice principal I have never met on the existence of the planet, said, "James, why didn't you come to somebody for help?" I wiped my face. I looked at my mother. And I looked at Mrs. Anderson. And I said, "I did. But sometimes you got to do some things yourself." Thank you.